Good morning and peace to all who are present at Trinity today and to all those who are online. Like so many of you who are joining electronically, I also am not able to be there in person, but I am always so grateful that Trinity adapted in the early days of the pandemic to bring Sunday service into our homes and continues to do that today, reaching far beyond Linwood through technology. I'm in California this morning, but I wanted to share with you my enthusiasm for the Build Up Branch Out campaign and share why my family gives as we all discern how we can prayerfully respond. We give because Trinity simply changes lives. It touches all who enter and even those who don't by helping us carry God's grace to all that we meet. So I wanted to share briefly about the journey that me and my family have taken to come to this point in supporting this very important campaign. My family came to Trinity in 2006, that's 16 years ago. Neither my husband nor I had grown up in the church, and our children were young. We had decided that we really wanted to raise them in a church community. And so in our first year here, our lives became so much more full, and we walked a path with growing with God. We met with Pastor Mark Rayton, who was the pastor at the time, every Thursday night because we just had so much to learn, and he was so willing to teach us the principles of Christianity with no questions being off limits. This was so important to our growth, and at the same time, we still really longed for that true sense of community that brought us here in the first place. And so I asked our pastor at the time, how do we get that? And he said what many of you might have heard Pastor Hector say, which is don't just come to church, be the church. And that was a huge distinction for us and one that really set a path for us. We took one of the most important steps in our lives as a family. Being new to the faith, none of us had been baptized. And so right here at Trinity, we experienced our baptism together. My husband and I were each 40 years old. Our kids were aged 4 and 8. And with that, we turned from the old life to a new life in Christ, and our lives really changed. My children would end up growing up in this church, and we would find and live that sense of church community that we had so longed for. My son's Sunday school teacher, Lisa Honeywell, and her husband, Bill, would become our kids' godparents, and both children would be confirmed in this church. And we came to find that our faith was only strengthened in volunteering, which we did with a great deal of joy. We also had some of our most difficult times as a family, job loss, illness, death, in which we found the emotional support that we needed here in a place that brought us closer to God and to God's people. Trinity has always been the place where I find my greatest sense of healing. Now, when we first arrived, we really didn't have an understanding of how critical contributions were to the church. I really thought that what we put into the collection plate went towards non-essential extras. Not until we became members did I realize that the stability of the budget relied on members. The Sunday services, the outreach services, the ministries, all those things, the building operations, and the health of our church home from the foundation to the roof relied on the generosity of its members. And I thought about how much this church has given to us unconditionally, and I knew that we had to do more. We had to be the church. And so we changed our giving because Trinity changed us. And in the years since, our giving has continued to evolve. Our children are grown now, we travel a lot, and we also spend a good part of the year in California. That meant shifting our giving to electronic giving and auto payment so that if we weren't going to be here in person, it didn't affect our giving. And as we've considered the Build Up, Branch Out campaign, my husband Brian and I were in a place of prayerful discernment. What can we give towards the important needs of Trinity, and in turn, towards the needs that Trinity meets for our community? We looked at what's feasible. We talked through why it matters. And we've decided to raise our giving in an amount that feels right for us in our ongoing conversation with God. And I will admit, these can be hard conversations, but I encourage you all to have them. Have them with God, yourself, those who understand your faith, because at the end of the day, I imagine most of you would also say Trinity has impacted and changed your lives and brought you closer to Christ. So please consider how you will prayerfully engage, how you can have a generous heart, and how you can be the church. Thank you.